Welcome everyone to the SBAM Daily Briefing. This is Daily Briefing number 32. It's Thursday, April 23rd, the 31st day of Michigan's Stay Home, Stay Safe order, 7 days until May 1st. We've been stressing that we don't think everything will be back to normal on May 1st, but it should be the next phase of what might be the beginning of opening the economy back up. And when the governor was on earlier in the week, she talked a little bit about what may come next. And tomorrow we should hear a little bit more from the governor about the next phase or the next phases of the shelter-in-place order that we're under right now. We have a special guest, and I just want to get to her right away. Brian, earlier today in the Detroit News, there was an editorial, you and our guest as the co-authors of the editorial. What was that about? And you can bring our guest in.
Great, thanks, Rob. And yeah, I could not be more delighted with our guest today, who is Sheryl Sandberg. She is the Chief Operating Officer of Facebook, and they are doing some really awesome things for small business. Of course, it's been our communication tool to our members daily is through Facebook Live. It's been an invaluable tool for us, but there's a lot more happening, some things that we're really, really excited about. Sheryl is also the founder of leanin.org, which is a nonprofit that is offering ongoing inspiration and support to help women achieve their goals. And also, of course, she is the author of Lean In, Women, Work, and the Will to Lead. Sheryl, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be with you in your car virtually on Facebook and able to get a chance to talk to the people of Detroit.
Well, thank you very much. And why don't we get right down to business and talk about the subject of that joint op-ed piece that you and I did with respect to the grants, the small business grants that Facebook is making available to small businesses. Maybe just give us some overview of why you're doing it and what you're accomplishing. Tell us about these grants.
So at Facebook, our business is small business. We have small businesses, 140 million of them using us, our free tools, our advertising products, smaller number, of course, around the world and right here in Detroit. And we know that we're really fortunate. This is a massive health crisis, but also a massive economic crisis around the world for all businesses, but especially small businesses. And we're a big business. We can keep the lights on. We can keep paying everyone, including our contractors, and we want to help. So we announced a $100 million grant for all around the world. We announced that we would be giving 40 million of it in the US, and we announced we were picking the cities we call home, and the greater Detroit metropolitan area is certainly one of those. We have employees there, we have partners there. And so today we're announcing that we're opening up those grant applications in Detroit. And one of the reasons I'm so grateful for this opportunity to join you is this helps us get the word out so the great small businesses of Detroit can apply and apply today.
That's outstanding. And just for the people that are watching as well, I wanted to give you just some indication about where or how to access the grants. And it is facebook.com/grants for business. So if you want it, we'll put that on our website too, and on our Facebook page, so that you can check it out, take a look, and take advantage of it. Rob.
Sheryl, thanks again for joining us. And I guess really the question is, can you give us some more detail about how one would access the grants? Are there limitations either on size, place, scope, targeting of those grants? What else can you tell us?
So any business can apply. We really only have two qualifications. You have to have been in business for a year, and that's because we obviously want to make sure you're an established business. And you have to have between 2 and 50 employees. And we thought about that. We're not trying to limit this. You do not have to be a Facebook customer. You do not even have to have a Facebook page. We don't care about that. We just want to make sure we're helping local businesses that are of the right size. And we thought the best way to do that was 2 to 50 employees. It's a very simple application. Tell us what your business is. Tell us what you're going to do with the money. We believe that small businesses, entrepreneurs, they know their business best. So we're not being overly prescriptive and you have to do this or you have to do this. We're going to hand the money out. We're also handing out some ad credits to people who are part of our ad program and would like that as part of this. And going to leave it to these amazing local entrepreneurs because they know what's best for them. We are hopeful that this helps get money into people's pockets. We're keeping the grant applications open for 2 weeks, and we're going to try to get that money out the door as quickly as possible. And we hope this enables small entrepreneurs to keep their businesses to survive, but also gets money into workers' hands. We know people need to pay their bills. When you don't get paid, you can't do that. So we want this to go directly to the people it can help the most.
And we've had a couple of questions already about, is it only for companies in Metro Detroit, or is this anywhere in the state? We're obviously a statewide organization with a statewide audience.
I think it's the local area in Metro Detroit, and that will be detailed on the page. And again, we'd always like to do more and help everyone. We picked the cities that we call home, and that is why we're able to offer in Detroit, and we're happy about that.
Yeah, and the other thing too is when you think about the overall mission and your work with Lean In, for example, there are some other there's portions of this money which is targeted more toward veteran-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, minority businesses. Maybe give us a little some detail behind that and why that's a priority.
Well, we know that when crises happen, it hits women, it hits people of color, and it hits women of color who have both racial biases that society has and gender biases the most. And that's why we've earmarked half of our grants in the United States for women, minority, and veterans-owned businesses.
Yeah, that's and when you consider what's happened in Detroit and the impact of the crisis in that city and the way that it has hit minority populations so much harder than everybody else. I know that this type of program in that scenario and in those neighborhoods that have been hit so hard, it really will be a lifeline. So I know we just have you for a little bit of time here. So in the remaining couple of minutes, I thought I'd also recognize that beyond these grants, there's other work that Facebook is doing in the city that you call home, which is Detroit. In terms of donations, some local donations that you've made in thermometers and face masks and even to local community foundation. Maybe just give a sense for the community attitude that Facebook has to a town like Detroit, where you have that physical presence in addition to the digital presence that you have literally everywhere.
Yes, so emergency supplies, we have masks, equipment we've donated to any city in which we have them. We've done it here. We care a lot about our employees. We're paying all of our employees and all of our contractors. And in everything we do, we think we have a really big responsibility to give back and make sure we're supporting local news organizations, small businesses, local workers in the healthcare space. And we're Detroit's a great place. I've been there. We've launched things there. We've launched some amazing programs there. We have some amazing clients. We have some amazing employees there. And we consider ourselves part of the local community. And we even get to be in your car today, Brian. I mean, yes. We are in there with you.
I did have somebody reach out and, being as famous as you are, one of my friends reached out and said, yeah, but I'll be really, really impressed if she's in your car with you. No,
yeah, we are strictly quarantining. Our counties, like many around the country, like yours, shut down. And, we take that really seriously. My fiance and I, we have 5 children. We actually kind of went inside and stopped social contact or unnecessary contact earlier than most. And when our kids were like, my friends are still having play dates, we said, this isn't about us. This is about protecting health workers. Both of my siblings and my sister-in-law are doctors. Tom, my fiance, his brother and sister-in-law are doctors. My father's a doctor. There are so many essential workers out there, so many healthcare workers out there. We are taking that very seriously as a family and as a company. But Brian, another time, because there's not 6 feet in your car, I would be honored to join you in person.
All right. All right. Well, maybe I'll hold you to that, or maybe not. So why don't we leave it with this? Because I know that you've got a very tight schedule and you're out of time. California has been a hard hit state as well, just like Michigan. Some of the states that have dealt through California a little bit earlier than most other states, and it's been watching the way that Governor Newsom has handled things there in California. It reminds me of a time, and I know that Governor Newsom. If you happen to run into him, he and I were Rodell Fellows at the Aspen Institute. We were both lieutenant governors, and early on in our times as lieutenant governor. So it's really been something to watch him in this role, this national spotlight that he finds himself in. So thank you for everything that Facebook is doing. Thank you for the attention and the focus on Detroit, for treating that like your home. And I know that this is going to make a really, really big difference for some businesses that are particularly hard hit.
Thank you. And I have to say, from all of us at Facebook, from Mark, from me, our hearts go out to everyone affected by this. We've had a loss in my family. I know so many families watching have had real health risks. I know the economic impacts are devastating, and our heart goes out to everyone, and we are going to keep doing everything we can to keep our services up and running so people can connect like you from your car, to keep helping in every way we can, including the small businesses that are the backbone of every community. Thank you for letting me join you.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Rob.
We appreciate the opportunity to use Facebook to build the community that we're building around small business owners. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Brian, the big issue that everyone's talking about right now is still the Paycheck Protection Program. We've been sort of advocating and expecting that today might be a big day in Washington. I saw last night Congressman Upton had tweeted that he was on his way to DC. We've talked to other members of our delegation who were descending on Washington, DC. Did they get it done today?
Yeah, and I hadn't seen that they had passed it and sent it to the president yet. Although I must admit, in the last hour I hadn't looked. But but it's a deal. I mean, they made the deal, went through the Senate. We're very, very confident it's going to get done today. I do not think that they will wait to deliver it to the president. I think they'll probably, as soon as they get it done, as soon as they get it enrolled, it is going to go straight for his signature. So I would expect that we're going to see the Paycheck Protection Program go live very, very soon. Maybe even tomorrow. I don't know what it takes to get the money committed through the SBA, but based on what we saw last time and how quickly they ramped up, I would not expect it to this to be something that they spend several days on.
Well, we have been sort of advising patience and persistence. This is the patience part until the Congress finally gets it passed. But as soon as it passes, yesterday you said that you should, challenge your banker to make certain that you have everything in order if you are still in a position of seeking a PPP loan, and you're not one of those people who've already gotten it. Same advice at this point?
Yeah, I mean, basically, here's the thing. I've heard from some of our members and some other small businesses have reached out and said, I don't know where my application is. I'm not really sure. Haven't heard back. I'm trying to find out. If they're not able to answer you that your application is in and you are good to go as soon as it's live, they will submit it. If they're not able to tell you that, I hate to say this, I know a lot of people in banking, but I wouldn't wait for them. This is, there are enough banks that are up and running now that they're going to be much more efficient at processing these. Don't worry about getting approved at 2 different places. You can't. The SBA knows who you are. So if you get approved in one place and they still had your application, sent it in, and that came through first, and the other place that you applied, you'll get denied. And the reason will be that you already are approved somewhere else. So then at least you'll know. But that's why I just think it's really important if your financial institution is not on top of it enough to communicate clearly and directly to you, then I really think you need to look for other options, because there's not this time they went back and they put more money in quickly. I I think that the next package out of Congress is not going to happen so quick. There are some things they're going to have to settle. There are some big things you're going to have to deal with in the future, but they're probably not going to do it in the next couple of weeks. And so that means that now is the time.
And really, our advocacy has been to get it funded, but also to all of our members. Our goal is every company who wants one gets one in this state, and to be as prepared and on top of it as possible. I'm not sure that's the banking system's goal, but that's certainly our goal. And so this is that moment where you have to find the place that is going to be able to process your loan as quickly as possible. I think we once again believe the money will not last very long, but that it may be again weeks at the most that the new money will last.
I think it's a safe bet that the average loan size and the number of loans that go through, the number of loans that get approved will be greater in this next round. We already saw that trending in through the last $350 billion that was funded. That'll probably continue, but the application, there are a lot more places you can apply now. Square and Intuit and PayPal are all active in it. There's some non-traditional lenders getting involved as well. So there's a lot more options, which means that even though the loan size will be smaller, even though there's more businesses that will probably get funded this time, the money could go just as fast as before.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that everybody's been talking about is a couple of large companies that may have gobbled up a big chunk of the initial money. Today, the SBA came out with some new guidance that essentially says a publicly held company is not going to be eligible for the second round, and in fact probably wasn't eligible in the first round. And there was going to be some scrutiny on some of those big companies to give it back, to give it back. So they, part of the money going so fast was some really big chunks coming out. It's very unlikely that that's going to happen this next time. So I think to your point, it will be smaller loans, but there'll be lots and lots of activity.
Yeah, what they did was they took out. In the previous funding, they took out the requirement that you couldn't find financing elsewhere. So that's normally, in a situation like this, that would be the credit elsewhere requirement would have been in place. They took that out, and it was good that they did, because there are a lot of businesses that could go out and get a loan, but this is kind of like a grant. But taken to the extreme, what we saw was publicly held companies that have a lot of options. I mean, public health companies can sell stock. They can, they have usually have more cash on hand. They also have a lot of credit options as well. So it certainly wasn't intended for publicly held companies. And I think there's a good bet. Some of them already given it back. I think it's a good bet that most will, because they're not going to want to face the congressional inquiries that they're going to if they don't.
Or the public scrutiny. And I think that's been pretty hot and heavy on them as well. Before we leave this topic, we've gotten lots of questions from those who have received a Paycheck Protection loan and are trying to, now in that space, to trying to figure out how to spend it, how to keep track of it. And I just want to remind people, we did a webinar on this called Tracking and Spending Your PPP. That really does get after some of those questions. It's on our website. That's the name of it, under our grants resource page. So I would, if you are now in that spot where you've got some questions about how to spend it, what is your strategy for deploying those dollars? That's a good resource for you. Also, there's an FAQ document designed by Brian. The other thing that we've been sort of anticipating was an extension of the executive order that essentially said, it was the original executive order on unemployment insurance, that among the things it did was give assurance to small businesses that if they laid someone off, that negative experience wouldn't come back to them. But that expired here just recently. And so we've been wondering whether it was going to be extended. What do we know?
Yeah, so last night it did get extended. So I had heard from the administration that it was in the works, that it was going to be anytime, and that I didn't really need to worry about it. But I'm in the business of worrying about things, and so it did come in that section that says that all employers during this time will not be charged. Your accounts will not be charged with the experience of people being laid off. Now, here's the thing, though, is that they apparently were unable to change the notices that you receive as an employer. So it still looks like you're still getting the notice saying, hey, this person filed and it's being charged to your account. I did inquire about that. I asked, are you sure that you got this all set? And the answer I got back was that it simply wasn't feasible for them to change that part of the system. They just know everybody during this time period will not be charged back that experience. And I also heard from an employer just earlier today that even in the case of a 1099 contractor who filed, that actually showed up on the notice, and the employer was like, are you sure? Are you sure that this is not going to be charged to me? And the department has assured me on multiple occasions, because I don't like to just rely on one answer. I like to get to double check. Are you still sure about this? Has anything changed? And they're still saying, yes, it is not going to be charged, even though the notices make it look like it will.
In fact, here's the very specific language. Any benefit paid to a claimant who is laid off or placed on leave of absence must not be charged to the account of the employer or employers that otherwise would have been charged, but instead must be charged to the unemployment insurance agency's non-chargeable account. So to your very point, we've heard a lot of people say, okay, now you told me this isn't going to come back on me, but I got the notice from the unemployment agency. So thank you for clearing that up. I think that helps a lot. I want to just give a little update on, I mentioned yesterday that we're working on what we're calling a restart playbook with some really practical and specific things to the best of our knowledge that are likely to be part of a restart of your company. We believe by tomorrow late afternoon, we will have something that you can turn to for practical guidance. I would say to begin to think about what your restart looks like if you're not one of those companies that's just been able to continue on. So look for that, a restart playbook or something. That may not be its official name, but something to that effect. Also, I mentioned yesterday that we were trying to do some assembling of PPE, personal protection equipment, and at least create a landing page where people could offer PPP. We had a really good response, and that landing page is up and running right now on our website. If you're interested to begin to get your hands on some masks, disinfectant, hand sanitizer, some of those sort of things, there are sources of that on the SBAM website at sbam.org. Let me just wrap it up by telling you tomorrow a webinar is scheduled. This one is on the understanding the HR issues related to the CARES Act and the executive orders. So just one more time, dipping back into this area of how many, of exactly what you need to know from an HR standpoint and managing through this period of time with your employees. That's tomorrow, 10 o'clock. Our partner on that is Raymond, the accounting firm, and we're delighted to have him. We'll be back tomorrow at 3. We'll see you then. In the meantime, don't forget to wash your hands.
And don't touch your face. Good luck, everybody. See you tomorrow.